So the data implies that being the perfect, helpful, always available partner actually accelerates your obsolescence.
Exactly. It's the plumber paradox. Once the pipe is fixed, the plumber has zero value. In the economy of desire, pure utility is the enemy of attraction.
Mind Architect Lab Deep Dive.
Welcome to the Mind Architect Lab Deep Dive. We are deconstructing this exact anomaly today based on the new research dossier regarding the desire economy.
It's a dense file. And architects, don't just listen to the theory. We've uploaded the full blueprint and raw data in the description below. Get the file because you're going to want to take notes on this one.
Let's start the dissection. What is the root cause identified in the data?
Well, the report frames it as this fundamental conflict. It's a collision, really, between the story we tell ourselves about love and the way our biology actually operates.
And that's what they're calling the romanticism myth versus market reality.
Precisely. The romanticism myth is, it's everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. It's the bedrock of almost every story we've been told since childhood. You know, the idea that love is the end goal, it's the destination.
The final achievement.
Exactly. You get the partner, you have the wedding, you buy the house, and then you've arrived. You're in this steady state romance.
And attraction just, takes care of itself? It's supposed to be self-sustaining.
Right. It's this idea that you no longer have to cultivate it. The commitment itself is supposed to be enough fuel. Yeah. It's the ending of every romantic comedy, isn't it? They kiss and the screen cuts to black.
Because the messy part comes next. And that's exactly the cultural deception this research is trying to pull apart. That whole idea is an artifact, really, a holdover from 19th century romanticism.
Which is just not equipped for modern life.
Not at all. So the report offers this much harsher paradigm, the realist paradigm shift, they call it. And its central point is that relationships aren't static destinations. They're dynamic, volatile marketplaces.
Okay, I have to stop you there. Marketplace. That sounds incredibly clinical. It sounds cold.
It does. It's an uncomfortable word.
I think a lot of people will hear that and think, that's not my relationship. I'm not running a business here. It sort of feels like it strips the magic out of it.
I get that. And the report addresses that tension directly. It's not saying you should treat your relationship like a cold transaction. It's saying that underneath the emotions, there is a system of governing laws.
The economy of desire.
The economy of desire. And it's not mystical. The research posits it's a quantifiable function of two things, value and accessibility.
Value and accessibility, like any other commodity.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's governed by these basic economic laws we all know, supply and demand, scarcity, satiety.
So if you flood the market with unlimited supply, unlimited attention, unlimited availability, and you get rid of all scarcity.
The value of the commodity, which in this case is you, your attention, your presence, it crashes. It has to. The framework doesn't destroy the magic. Understanding the rules is what keeps the market from collapsing and, preserves the magic.
Let's pull on that thread of scarcity, because this is where the romantic ideal just completely falls apart, isn't it? We can kind of accept the idea of unconditional love.
Of course. For a child, a family member, that's a powerful bonding agent.
But the report is very explicit. It draws a hard line and says that unconditional desire is a biological impossibility.
And this is the part that's really hard to swallow. But it's an evolutionary truth. Your brain, above all else, is an efficiency machine. Its number one job is to conserve energy.
Okay.
And how does it do that? It automates the familiar. It takes things that are predictable, safe, and constant, and it shunts them into the background. They become background noise.
So it can focus its resources on what's new.
On the novel.
Yeah.
Or on solving an unmet need. So if your partner becomes 100% predictable, 100% available, and fills every need before it even arises, the brain just checks them off the list.
The hunt is over.
The hunt is over. The search is done. The high dopamine, highly motivated seeking behavior gets shut down. It's just not efficient to keep it running.
Wow. So to keep the spark alive, you are literally fighting your own brain's programming. The whole limerence phase, that initial obsessive high.
That's the brain screaming, pay attention. This is new. Invest resources now.
But once the brain decides that resource is secure, the alarm just turns off.
It turns off, and this is why the research concludes that our entire mindset has to shift. We have to move from relationship as a destination to relationship as a constant negotiation.
A destination implies you stop. You can finally rest.
And resting, in this model, is biological stagnation. Negotiation means there's movement, there's a dynamic back and forth, a constant reevaluation of that value exchange.
So we have to stop thinking that needing to work on attraction means the relationship is broken.
Yes. We have to see that friction, that movement as the engine. It's what keeps the whole economy from grinding to a halt. A healthy need isn't a flaw, it's the space where desire gets to grow.
Okay, let's dive into the specifics of that. The neurobiological traps. This is where it gets really personal for the listener. The first one is the hedonic treadmill.
Right. And most people know this from happiness research. The idea that we have this emotional set point.
You win the lottery, you feel amazing for a while, but eventually you go back to your baseline.
Or you have a terrible accident, and after a while, you also tend to return to that same baseline. The brain normalizes the new reality.
And in a relationship, that initial cocktail of chemicals, the dopamine, the oxytocin, that's the equivalent of winning the lottery.
It's a massive positive shock to the system. But it is, by definition, temporary. Your brain cannot sustain that level of arousal. It's not built for it.
So as the partner goes from being this thrilling new discovery to just a predictable part of your daily life.
The fixture.
A fixture, yeah. The brain adapts.
All right.
The same stimuli that once created euphoria now just produce comfort, or worse, indifference.
Exactly. And this is where we have to reframe the idea of boredom. People feel so much guilt about being bored in a long-term relationship.
They see it as a moral failing. If I really loved them, I wouldn't be bored.
And the report says that's completely wrong. Boredom is a physiological default. It's a survival mechanism.
A survival mechanism? How so?
Well, think about it from an evolutionary perspective. If our ancestors stayed permanently infatuated, just staring into their partner's eyes all day,
They'd get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger.
or they'd forget to gather food, they'd be functionally useless. Boredom is the brain's way of saying, okay, this front is secure, stand down, conserve your energy for the next real threat or the next important opportunity.
That changes everything. The absence of that intense, high alert feeling is actually the brain doing its job correctly.
It is. Which means you can't just sit back and rely on the initial chemistry to do the work for you. It requires active, conscious intervention.
An active management imperative, as the report puts it.
You have to manage the baseline. If you just provide this constant, unvarying stream of affection and security, the brain tunes it out. It's like living next to an airport. After a month, you don't even hear the planes anymore.
So you have to inject novelty. You have to inject, as you said, controlled friction.
If you don't, the brain stops recording the signal. It just assumes a steady supply means it's a low-value resource that doesn't require any attention.
This idea that being the most secure, most helpful partner is actually bad for desire. That's the core paradox here. And the report uses a fantastic analogy for this.
The Plumber Paradox.
Let's break this one down, because if you understand this, you understand the whole report.
Okay, so picture the scenario. You're a homeowner. A pipe bursts in your basement at 2 a.m. Water is everywhere. Your need is acute. It's critical.
We're in a crisis.
Total crisis. The plumber arrives. At that moment, their value is at its absolute peak. They are a savior.
They have all the leverage. They have scarcity. They're the only one available. They have high utility. They can fix the problem.
Right.
And they have status. They have a skill you desperately need.
And you are highly motivated to do whatever they say. You'll pay them anything. But the second that pipe is fixed, the moment the crisis is over.
Their value drops to zero. Instantly.
Instantly. The problem is solved. Their function is complete.
And the report points out that if the plumber then decides to hang around, making small talk, offering advice on your faucets,
they very quickly go from being a savior to being a nuisance, an obstacle. You just want them to leave so you can get back to your normal, safe, resolved life.
And this is the dynamic of obsolescence by utility.
Yes. So many partners, with the best of intentions, try to secure love by maximizing their utility. They become the ultimate problem solver.
They handle all the bills, they fix the car, they clean up every mess immediately, they offer emotional support 204/7. They try to eliminate every single point of friction.
And in doing so, they turn themselves into that plumber who just fixed the pipe. They make themselves purely functional. They go from being a desired person to being a really, really reliable home appliance.
A dishwasher, a calendar app.
Exactly. And you might value your dishwasher, but you don't desire it. This all comes down to the neurobiology of anticipation versus consumption.
We think the big reward, the big chemical hit, comes from getting the thing we want.
But the data is very clear. Dopamine isn't the pleasure chemical. It's the motivation chemical. It's the seeking chemical.
So the high is in the chase.
The high is in the anticipation. The dopamine release is significantly higher during the uncertain period of seeking and pursuit than it is during the actual consumption.
So when you give your partner everything they want, immediately, you're actually robbing them of that dopamine hit.
You're bypassing the entire engine of desire. You skip the motivated seeking phase and go straight to consumption, which leads to instant satiety. The game is over before it even begins.
You've solved the problem, but you've also killed the tension. So the partner never has to miss you. They never have to wonder what you're thinking. They never have to actively reach for you.
Which means the desire engine just stalls out. It's too efficient. And this is the key takeaway. Need must be allowed to exist. A healthy, controlled level of unmet need is the vacuum that desire rushes in to fill.
Our culture tells us a good partner eliminates all discomfort. But this report says a smart partner cultivates productive discomfort.
Absolutely. If you preemptively fill every need, there is no psychological space left for desire to grow. The overfunctioning partner, the one who does everything right by the checklist, makes themselves a solved problem.
And the nervous system has no interest in solved problems?
None. They're secure, yes, but they're also unremarkable. Which brings us to how the brain handles predictability.
Right. Routine is safe, but it's an attention killer. Let's get into the science of that. The dopamine prediction error.
This is such a cool mechanism. It's fundamental to how we learn. Your dopamine neurons don't just fire when you get a reward. They fire when the reward is better than expected.
It's about the surprise.
It's all about the surprise. So if your paycheck always lands in your bank account at 5 p.m. on a Friday, your brain maps that. You get the money, but there's no dopamine spike. The prediction was met. No error.
But if your boss walks over on a random Tuesday and hands you a bonus check,
the system lights up like a Christmas tree. That's a positive prediction error. The outcome was better than you anticipated, and the brain flags that as a highly important event.
So a relationship that is 100% predictable offers perfect safety.
Which is great for the attachment bond.
But it offers zero excitement. The brain maps the routine, the response gets blunted, and the desire flatlines.
Which is why the report advocates for introducing what it calls positive variability.
And this is not toxic unpredictability. We're not talking about starting fights for no reason.
God, no. That destroys security value, which we'll get to. This is about controlled, positive deviations from the script. A surprise gift for no reason. A completely spontaneous date on a weeknight. An unexpected, heartfelt compliment.
Something that forces your partner's brain to stop and say, wait a minute, that wasn't supposed to happen. I need to pay attention to this person again.
You're forcing a reevaluation of their value. And this is the perfect counter strategy to the next trap.
The trap of unconditional availability.
Yeah. We're taught that being always available is a virtue. It shows you're committed. But from an economic perspective, it just signals low scarcity.
And therefore low value. This is the law of diminishing marginal utility.
A classic economic law. The first unit of something you consume is always the most valuable. Think about being incredibly thirsty. That first glass of water is amazing.
The 10th glass of water an hour later is not so special.
It's worth almost nothing to you. It's the same with connection. That first hour of intense, focused, no phones allowed conversation after a long week apart. Incredibly high value.
Compared to the 50th consecutive hour of just sitting next to each other on the couch scrolling on your phones.
The marginal utility of that 50th hour is basically zero. You're devaluing your own attention by oversupplying it. Your presence becomes an entitlement, not a gift, because it costs them nothing to acquire it.
So what's the solution? How do you manage availability without looking like you're playing games?
The report calls it strategic withdrawal. And again, this isn't about giving the silent treatment. It's about having a full, compelling life outside the relationship.
So having your own hobbies, your own friends, being genuinely engrossed in your work.
Yes, it creates a temporary, healthy scarcity of your time and attention. It signals that your resources have alternative, high-value uses.
And what does that do to the partner?
It forces them to bid for your time. They have to actively seek you out, make a plan, and engage you, which, not coincidentally, fires up their dopamine-driven seeking system again.
The time you spend together becomes more valuable precisely because it had to be earned.
It wasn't the default. It was a choice. And that is the foundation of desire. You have to be a complete person outside of the relationship to be a desirable person within it.
Okay, so that sets the stage perfectly for part 2, which is the framework for how we actually assess this value. The report introduces the mate value audit.
Right. And again, the term mate value sounds cold, but the report argues it's a calculation that everyone is running unconsciously all the time.
It's your desirability score, essentially.
A fluctuating composite score. And the key word there is fluctuating. It's not static. It requires constant maintenance and, just as importantly, constant signaling.
You can't just rely on one thing. The report is adamant about having a diversified portfolio of value.
Absolutely. They break it down into 4 core currencies. If you let any one of these stagnate, the entire structure can become unstable.
Let's go through them. The first is emotional capital, the bond.
This is the bedrock. It's the goodwill you build up over time through active listening, validation, being there for them. It's the friendship.
It's the safety net, right? This is what helps you survive the market crashes, the arguments, the external stressors.
It is. It's what keeps the relationship from going bankrupt. But, and this is but emotional capital on its own does not create desire.
It creates deep friendship, it creates security.
But you can have immense emotional capital with your sibling or your best friend, and you don't necessarily want to slink with them. So it's necessary, but it's not sufficient for attraction.
Okay. The second currency is security value, the foundation.
This is about reliability, fidelity, financial stability, being a rock in a crisis. This is the non-negotiable foundation of trust.
But there's a paradox here too, isn't there?
A big one. When security value becomes the only thing you offer, if you're just the reliable provider who pays the bills but has no spark, no outside life, it can actually become antagonistic to desire.
It can feel parental, safe, but not sexy.
Exactly. It needs to be a secure base from which you both launch into the world, not a comfortable prison.
Which brings us to the third one, and this is the one that I think the domestic routine just kills.
Yeah.
Status value.
The social signal. We are hierarchical creatures, whether we like it or not. We're drawn to competence, to ambition, to people who command respect from others.
It's about external validation.
It is. This is why you often feel a spike of attraction when you see your partner in their element.
Right. Seeing them give a great presentation at work, or being the life of the party, or just passionately explaining something they're an expert in.
It reminds you of their value in the wider market. It reminds you why you chose them. When a partner gets totally sucked into the domestic bubble and their only competence is scheduling play dates, their status value plummets.
They lose that external context.
And that loss is lethal for desire. You have to maintain your own ambition and your own social world, partly because it reminds your partner that other people value your time and respect your skills.
It reinforces their good taste in choosing you.
Precisely. And that leads to the fourth and most volatile currency, physical or erotic value.
The spark.
This is health, vitality, grooming, sexual competence. And it's volatile because it takes daily effort and it directly fights against the powerful urge to just get comfortable.
Where comfort means sweatpants 24/7, letting yourself go.
Yeah. And neglecting your physical self isn't just about aesthetics. It signals a drop in self-respect and self-value. And if you don't value yourself, the market, your partner, won't either. You have to keep signaling that you are a vital sexual being, independent of your role as a partner or parent.
And if there's a big gap in these currencies between partners, you get what the report calls a mate value discrepancy.
And this is a huge predictor of breakups. It's when one partner keeps investing in their portfolio, they stay fit, they advance their career, while the other partner just stagnates.
And the high value partner, maybe unconsciously at first, starts to feel like they're getting a bad deal.
They feel like they could get a better return on their investment elsewhere. And the danger isn't the initial difference in value, it's the stagnation. It's the lack of effort.
This all brings up a really important distinction. We said earlier that healthy need is good for desire. But how do we separate that from being needy, which is obviously unattractive?
This is critical. The report frames it as codependence versus interdependence. Codependence is fundamentally low value.
It's when your entire sense of self is based on your partner's approval.
Right. You become what the report calls a professional volunteer, overgiving, doing everything in the hopes that you'll become indispensable. But it backfires. Your desire becomes a burden.
The message is, I need you to survive. If you leave me, I'll fall apart.
And that kind of pressure is the opposite of attractive. It's repellent. It turns their desire for you into an obligation.
So what's the alternative? Interdependence.
Which is high value. Interdependence is about strategic vulnerability from a position of strength. The message is completely different. It's, my life is full and I am whole on my own, but I choose you because you add significant value to it.
So your desire is a complement, not a demand.
It's a choice. And that requires strong personal boundaries and a separate sense of self. When you are whole on your own, your partnership is a bonus, not a lifeline.
So this requires a really honest self-audit, doesn't it?
A brutally honest one. You have to look at your investment in all four currencies and be real about where you've been slacking.
And you have to be aware of the perception gap. You might think you're a great partner because you're loyal and dependable, high emotional capital.
But you fail to see that your partner is turned off because you gave up on your career and stopped taking care of your health. Your status and physical value have tanked. The market looks at the whole portfolio, not just your favorite stock.
Okay, so that's the diagnosis. Let's move into the strategies. Part 3, the strategy of dynamic desire cultivation. How do we actively engineer this?
The first and maybe most powerful tool is strategy 1, the drip feed method.
Which is basically the ethical application of variable reward schedules.
Exactly. We know from B.F. Skinner and behavioral psychology that the most powerful way to motivate behavior is with intermittent reinforcement. A reward that is unpredictable is far more compelling than one that is guaranteed.
How do you do this without it feeling manipulative or like you're playing games?
The intention is key. The goal isn't to create anxiety, it's to prevent satiety. You're trying to delight, not to control. Think about a slot machine. It's addictive because you know a reward is possible, but you don't know when. It keeps the dopamine system firing.
So in a relationship, the first step is to avoid gorging.
Right. Stop trying to spend 48 straight hours of low-quality, aimless time together every weekend. That just leads to that diminishing marginal utility we talked about.
Instead, drip feed high-quality time.
A concentrated 90-minute phones off, deep dive conversation or activity. The dose is smaller, but the potency is 1,000 times higher. The brain registers it as a significant event.
And this applies to affection, too. Variable affection.
Yes. If you say, I love you, automatically every time you get off the phone, it becomes meaningless white noise.
So you should offer praise or deep affection when it's unexpected or when it's genuinely earned.
When it's tied to a specific positive action or delivered out of the blue on a random Tuesday, that's when it lands as a real reward signal. You also have to use novelty scheduling. If date night is always the same restaurant on the same day,
it's not a date, it's a routine.
So you have to interrupt the pattern. Go on Wednesday, do something physically challenging. The surprise is the point.
This keeps the brain on its toes. Okay, what's the next strategy? A lot of couples fall apart not because of conflict, but because they just run out of road.
They hit the teleological dead end. That's strategy 2, the horizon effect.
Teleological meaning. related to purpose or goals.
Exactly. Once the standard life script is done, you're married, you have the kids, you bought the house. A lot of couples just look at each other and think, now what? They've run out of future to build together.
So the horizon effect is about creating a new shared goal to aim for.
You have to create new levels for the game, and the goal has to be external and challenging. You treat the relationship as a third entity, the enterprise of us.
So things like starting a business together, training for a marathon,
Learning a difficult language so you can travel somewhere exotic. It creates a cooperative gameplay loop. It forces you to work together and invest your value currencies into a shared mission.
and the report suggests linking rewards to that with a promotion ladder.
Yes, you gamify it. When we hit our savings goal, we unlock that trip to Italy. When we finish renovating the basement, we buy that new sound system. It makes the present sacrifice feel worthwhile because the future reward is tangible.
It gives the relationship a forward momentum instead of just being in maintenance mode.
And this taps into something really deep in our psychology, which is self-expansion theory.
The idea that we're all motivated to grow, to become more capable.
Right? Early in a relationship, that's easy. You expand yourself by learning about your partner, absorbing their world. But once you feel like you know everything about them, the expansion stops and boredom rushes in.
So the pollution is to find new ways to expand together by doing novel and arousing activities.
And the key here is that the activity has to be new to both of you.
Yeah.
You can't just drag your partner along to your favorite hobby. It needs to be a shared discovery.
Like rock climbing or taking a difficult dance class, something with a little bit of risk.
A little bit of physiological arousal, yes. Because of a fantastic trick the brain plays on itself called arousal misattribution.
What's that?
The brain isn't great at figuring out where strong emotions come from. So the adrenaline and excitement you feel from, say, navigating a difficult hiking trail, it gets misattributed to the person you're with.
So you associate that feeling of being alive and excited with your partner.
It jacks up the perceived attraction, and it also shatters the domestic script. You see your partner not as the person who forgets to take out the trash, but as a capable, resilient adventurer.
All of this is a balancing act, though. You're managing all this novelty and distance while trying to maintain a secure bond.
Which is the central paradox. Esther Perel talks about this all the time. Love needs closeness, but desire needs distance.
We have to find the Goldilocks zone.
Not too close, not too far. Enough security to feel safe, enough mystery to stay interested. And the psychological skill that lets you do this is called differentiation.
Let's define that. The difference between an undifferentiated and a differentiated person.
The undifferentiated person is fused. Their sense of self is completely tangled up with their partner's. If their partner is unhappy, they are unhappy. They can't handle disagreement because it feels like a threat to their existence.
They need the other person to regulate their emotions for them.
Yes, they have other validated intimacy. It creates this gridlock where no one can be their true self. Inevitably, it kills respect and desire.
Whereas the differentiated person,
They have a solid, flexible self. They can be close to their partner while still maintaining their own thoughts, feelings, and identity. They can self-soothe. They can tolerate disagreement.
this is self-validated intimacy.
And that's what creates erotic distance. It's the simple fact that your partner is a separate, sovereign being with a rich inner world that you don't have complete access to. You can't desire what you already own or encompass. You can only desire that which is slightly out of reach.
Okay, let's bring this down to some very practical techniques. How do you break the daily scripts that lull desire to sleep?
A simple one is the pattern interrupt. Think about the most common script. How was your day? Fine.
It's a dead end.
Total dead end. So you interrupt it. Instead of fine, you tell a 30-second vivid story about something that happened. Or you answer with a provocative question like, if we could move anywhere in the world next year, where would it be? You force them off autopilot.
You can also interrupt the context. If intimacy always happens at the same time in the same place,
Initiate it somewhere else at a weird time. The change of context forces the brain to pay new attention. The report also mentions the stranger exercise.
Right. To get you to see the person again, not just the role.
Exactly. Go to a crowded bar and pretend you don't know each other.
Uh-huh.
Flirt from across the room. See them as a desirable man or woman that other people are noticing. It forces that cognitive shift away from co-manager of my household back to object of my desire.
We have to add a major warning here, though. A trust caveat. All this talk of unpredictability and scarcity can go very wrong.
It's the most important point. This entire system runs on a foundation of trust. Healthy unpredictability is playful and aims to create delight.
Toxic unpredictability, giving the silent treatment, trying to make them jealous, that's just destructive.
It annihilates security value. You have to make regular, consistent deposits into the security account through honesty and reliability before you can start making speculative investments in the mystery account. If the foundation is shaky, any mystery just feels like a threat.
Okay, so let's try to bring all this together in a final conclusion. This whole framework is about moving from a passive hope to an active strategy.
Yes, you have to stop just hoping you'll stay in love and start actively managing the conditions for desire. And one way to do that is to institutionalize growth. The report suggests something radical.
The couple's annual review.
Treating your partnership like a high-stakes business partnership. A formal, yearly check-in.
Where you ask the hard questions. Where did we let ourselves stagnate this year? What's our level up goal for next year? Are we acting more like roommates or lovers?
It forces you to have the uncomfortable conversations and to consciously plan for growth instead of just drifting into obsolescence. It makes the relationship an ongoing project, not a finished product.
So the big shift is from, I hope we stay in love, to how do I maintain the value exchange?
Exactly. The final goal isn't to solve the relationship into a state of perfect static peace. That's death for desire. The goal is to keep the game going, to embrace the friction and novelty as the fuel.
Which brings us to a final provocative thought for you, the listener.
We've laid out how self-expansion and maintaining your own value is the engine of attraction. So take a truly honest moment right now and audit yourself. If you've been stagnating in your career, your fitness, your personal growth, are you unknowingly asking your partner to be the sole source of vitality and excitement in the relationship?
Are you demanding that they fill a void that you're not willing to fill for yourself? That's a heavy question.
A very heavy question.
A fascinating dissection of the human condition. To continue building your arsenal of knowledge, please subscribe to our channel, Mind Architect Lab, on YouTube. And to access the full research report used for this episode, check the link in the description. Until next time.